production of the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Today on Farm Week, $2.5 million is the estimate of the fire damage at the Mississippi Agriculture and Forestry Museum.
We'll have highlights of the 41st Ornamental Horticulture Field Day at Poplarville.
In southern gardening, Amaranth. It's an ancient plant that's colorful and it's edible.
In the food factor, Natasha will have some safe and sure ways to thaw your Thanksgiving turkey.
In the markets, U.S. catfish processing remains down compared to a year ago, as tight supplies are becoming less of a factor affecting soybean prices.
In the feature segment, agricultural drones. Development is proceeding despite the fact that the federal government has yet to license them for commercial use.
Do you know right now out west, people are putting thermal cameras on this, flying over their livestock and determining whether any of their livestock has an illness right now, has a fever? I mean, that's what's happening right now. I mean, and it exists. It's not super expensive either.
Good day, everyone. I'm Leighton Spann.
And I'm Artis Ford. Welcome to Farm Week.
Fire damage at the Mississippi Agriculture and Forestry Museum is placed in the millions.
Leighton Governor Phil Bryant announced Monday that damage from the fire is estimated at $2.5 million. The museum has insurance, but there's the question of how to cover the $250,000 deductible. As of Farm Week's production time, the State Fire Marshal's office is still investigating the cause of the fire, but it has ruled out arson. The November 13th fire burned the children's barnyard, the veterinary infirmary, and the maintenance shop. The fire was limited to these structures, but it did come within 30 feet of the museum's main building. Some soot and smoke were pulled into the main building by the heating and air conditioning system.
We're mostly dealing with soot and ash in there. They're going to clean the ceilings, clean the ductwork. We've replaced the filters on the AC units with coal filters. They're scrubbing the air, and then we'll go through in teams and we'll do it systematically and clean and dust all of the artifacts.
The public will be able to watch the cleanup and restoration process.
When we do reopen, as we're still cleaning the artifacts, the triage location will be located here on the grounds, and the public will be able to see what we're doing to restore and clean those artifacts.
While the footage of the fire was spectacular, the vast majority of the museum's buildings escaped direct damage. The Ag Museum is part of the Mississippi Department of Agriculture and Commerce. State Ag Commissioner Cindy Hyde-Smith says the department has received many offers of help.
While I was standing beside the fire after I just got here, I got a call from Senator Billy Hudson, and I also he is the chairman of agriculture in the state Senate. Preston Sullivan, a House member, he called saying, what can we do to help? I mean, it was immediate response.
The Ag Museum will reopen to the public on Monday, December 1st. Its annual Country Christmas celebration is canceled for this year. Private events will continue in the meeting halls. The Ag Museum is looking for volunteers to help with the cleanup. Those who wish to donate to the Mississippi Ag and Forestry Museum can do so through its foundation, mail the money to the museum's address on Lakeland Drive. Now, one young boy of Jackson, Ashland Clark, wants to raise $2,000 to replace the mule harnesses lost in the fire. He has a Facebook page called Ashland's 10th Birthday List, or Wish, and the hashtag is Ashland's Mule Project. Gardening enthusiasts and horticulture professionals could both be found at October's 41st Annual Ornamental Horticulture Field Day in Poplarville. One session focused on how the right glove can dramatically reduce fatigue among employees in garden nurseries. Farmweek's Amy Taylor reports the demonstration gardens attracted a lot of attention.
Horticulture enthusiasts at the Ornamental Horticulture Field Day received research updates and toured the demonstration gardens at the MSU South Mississippi Branch Experiment Station. Associate Research Professor Dr. Christine Coker discussed the economics of insect pest management in small-scale tomato production.
We're looking at a couple of different treatment options. We're looking at a calendar spray, which means that we treat for bugs every 14 days, regardless of the presence of bugs. And we're also looking at integrated pest management, which means that we're scouting to see if there are bugs, and then we're spraying accordingly. And through our IPM treatments, we're using conventional chemicals that are available at any garden center, as well as organic options.
Coker said integrated pest management led to the greatest yields and most economical benefits. MSU Research and Extension Associate Scott Langlois shared the results of his study on hand protection in garden nurseries.
We looked at 4 different methods of hand protection, and what we found was that there was a significant difference in forearm muscle activation and shoulder muscle activation wearing a particular type of glove versus other types of glove or no glove. In this case, what we call a mechanic's glove, or a mesh back glove with a dipped palm, a rubber dipped palm, actually caused less muscle activation for these workers. That in turn would translate into workers that were just less fatigued and less tired at the end of the day. We studied a total of 24 workers with the 4 different glove styles, 3 different pot combinations.
Langlois says this information can help nurseries develop safer work environments. From Poplarville, Mississippi, I'm Amy Taylor reporting.
Thanksgiving is fast approaching, and it may be your turn to cook the turkey for the family feast. In this week's episode of The Food Factor, Natasha Haynes of the Mississippi State Extension Service gives us 2 ways to thaw that turkey and have a Thanksgiving free of foodborne illness.
Thanksgiving is a holiday with many family traditions, but if you're in charge of cooking the big meal, don't thaw the turkey on the counter the way that Grandma used to. If you have purchased a frozen turkey, thaw the bird properly before cooking. Choose one of these 3 ways to thaw your turkey safely. In the refrigerator, allow approximately 24 hours for every 4 to 5 pounds of bird. For example, a 12 to 16 pound turkey will require 3 to 4 days. In cold water, allow approximately 30 minutes per pound. A 12 to 16 pound turkey will take about 6 to 8 hours. Make sure to leave the turkey wrapping on when thawing in cold water. Change the water every 30 minutes and cook the turkey immediately after thawing. In the microwave, check your owner's manual for the size turkey that will fit, minutes per pound, and power level to use for thawing. Remove all outside wrapping, including the wire that holds the legs together. Place on a microwave-safe dish to catch any juices. Cook the turkey immediately after thawing. Don't refreeze or refrigerate a raw turkey after thawing in the microwave. By properly thawing your turkey, you can protect your family and friends from foodborne illness, and that's something we can all be thankful for. It's time to make healthy food a factor in your life.
In this week's Southern Gardening segment, we have an ancient plant that's been cultivated for thousands of years. Extension horticulturist Dr. Gary Bachman introduces us to Amaranth, a little-known plant with big looks and some practical value.
Several years ago, if a gardener told me they had amaranth growing in their landscape, I would have envisioned a weedy mess. But lately, my opinion of this group of plants has changed. My first approval of growing amaranth in the landscape was the variety called Summer Poinsettia, which has foliage colors that actually light up the garden. Color combinations range from green with creamy white to burgundy with brilliant red-orange shades. These plants will reach about 2 feet or more tall. So expanding my horizons, I've learned that amaranth is considered an ancient grain, and the seeds have been harvested through the ages and ground into flour. So it's fitting that we are now using amaranth as part of the edible landscape. This unique and striking variety is called elephant head and is an heirloom brought to this country from Germany in the 1880s. The huge reddish-purple flower heads can take on the appearance resembling its namesake. Hopi red dye amaranth produces the reddest plants and was traditionally used to make dye by the southwestern Hopi Indian nation. These plants grow up to 6 feet tall and should be staked to make quite the statement in the garden. A very pretty amaranth that has good autumnal color is Golden Giant. The flower heads are a bright golden orange color, and each plant can produce up to 1 pound of seed. And Congo amaranth is a variety that originates in West Africa and has a beautiful light green flower head. While the older foliage isn't edible, it's common to use the younger foliage as colorful microgreens or cooked like spinach as a great source of vitamins. I'm horticulturist Gary Bachman for Southern Gardening.
Leighton, it's estimated that the ancient Aztecs in Mexico may have derived 80% of their daily calories from amaranth. In our feature segment today, agricultural drones. Companies are developing drones for agricultural use, even though the federal government is still deciding how to govern them. Time now for the markets with Leighton, and farm-raised catfish processing continues to be down, you say.
That's right, Artis. For the first 10 months, it's down 10% compared to the same period in 2013. We'll have more on this coming up. Also ahead this week, some analysts believe the high demand for soybean meal may be short-term. Corn prices may move into a sideways trading pattern, and cold weather increases the threat of PED virus for the hog sector. American Soybean Association president and Mississippi farmer Danny Murphy credits good demand for the opportunity for better prices at the farm gate. Murphy told Brownfield Ag News this week, demand for soy meal and demand for whole soybeans for export have provided market support. However, some analysts like Elaine Cubb believe the price picture for beans is going to change.
I really was bearish on soybeans, and I still am. I mean, they're overpriced compared to corn. The only thing that's been driving soybeans up is this idea of the shortage of soybean meal. Soybean meal made it over $400 a ton again this week, but it didn't stay there by the end of the week. But that just feels like a panicky, short-term kind of situation. And when you've got nearly 4 billion bushels of actual beans in the country, I don't necessarily think it makes sense for the soybean market to be following meal to this degree. So, yeah, I think that there's real potential for the soybean futures market to correct back down. But in the meantime, longer term, again, when you're going into the spring, I have liked the idea of getting rid of them, not trying to keep them in condition and store them physically. But if you want to be bullish on soybeans, do it with options.
Weaker exports are one factor beginning to hurt the corn market. Another is the near conclusion of harvest in other parts of the country. Analyst Naomi Bloom says the recent bullish key reversal in corn is a huge bottoming signal.
I don't feel that we're going to see the market just totally crash and fall apart. But at the same time, because of the global fundamentals being what they are and the crop size here in the United States and more harvest pressure, looking for sideways to lower prices also into the end of the year. But again, that bullish key reversal is a big deal.
Our trivia quiz pertains to soybeans, and here's the question. What country is the biggest buyer of U.S. soybean meal? Not whole beans, but the meal. Is the answer A, Mexico, B, China, C, the Philippines, or D, Canada? I'll tell you at the end of the markets.
We're going to pause for a short break on Farm Week. Coming up, we'll look at the calendar and the rest of the markets. Leighton Span reports that catfish processing is trending down. In the feature segment today, drones for agricultural use. Development is proceeding even though the regulations that govern their use are still being written.
Hey, do you see something cool? Sure. Coming home.
Before we get back to the markets, let's look at the Farm Week calendar. Once again, we've still got a bargain. That's the South's best row crop short course for free. The Mississippi State University row crop short course takes place December 1st through the 3rd. That's on campus in Starkville. Registration is free if you register by Wednesday, November 26th. It's $40 after that date. That does include 5 meals. Farmers, landowners, and consultants, and natural resource professionals who want to learn more about ways to efficiently use irrigation and preserve soil moisture, they should make plans to attend the Governor's Delta Sustainable Water Resources Task Force. Now, this takes place Wednesday, December 10th in the CAP Center at the Mississippi State University Delta Research and Extension Center at Stoneville. The hours are 9:30 a.m. to 3:20 p.m. Lunch will be served, and there's no registration fee. Go to our Farm Week website at farmweek.msucares.com for information on these and other events. Now check out this week's Farm Week Snapshot.
The latest snapshot of the U.S. farm-raised catfish industry came out since our last program of Farm Week. In the month of October, producers in the U.S. received a pond bank price of $1.19 per pound for premium-sized live fish. That is 9 cents per pound more than was paid 1 year ago. Farm sales totaled 25.5 million pounds round weight, a drop of 3% from October 2013. Meanwhile, processor sales were down much more. They total just a hair over 11 million pounds, a decrease of 18% from October 2013. This fall, the U.S. farm-raised catfish industry launched a new television campaign, one designed to increase consumer awareness of the product. The 30-second spot depicts a young soldier's homecoming celebration, complete with a family gathering and a meal of fried catfish. The Catfish Institute says it wants to keep the product top of mind among its core consumers as the holiday season begins. There are unofficial reports that the PED virus is surfacing again in the hog sector in parts of the cold Midwest. Of course, cold conditions provide exactly the right fuel for porcine epidemic diarrhea virus to occur. Analyst Walt Hackney comments on the situation as far as the pork markets.
There are rumors breaking out in the colder areas, which, as we all know, PED virus is more susceptible to the cold weather. And there is some evidence of PED breaking out in certain areas. There's also some potential of vaccine that's being developed that's going to help us eradicate part of that if we're lucky.
Before our feature story, let's check the trivia answer for this week. The correct choice is A. Mexico is the biggest buyer of U.S. soybean meal. China is the top buyer of whole U.S. soybeans.
In our feature segment today, agricultural drones. The Federal Aviation Administration had initially planned to allow commercial drone use sometime next year, but that's looking increasingly unlikely. Some growers and companies, however, aren't waiting for the government to clear the runway for a technology that some say is a game changer. Market to Market's Josh Bittner explains.
To the untrained eye, the sight of a UAV, or unmanned aerial vehicle, soaring over the rural landscape might seem like an amateur activity. But the machine soon could become a key weapon in a robust agricultural arsenal.
The nice part is that the two of these work really close together. So if you have any issues with anything, you're in constant contact with the ship.
If early adopters are able to chart the course, someday drones could be as common on farms as tractors. And with cheap technology blossoming, some tech-savvy producers are already attempting to hack their fields.
It's just another thing to give the grower control, and that's really what it's all about. That's what everybody wants.
As technological innovations flood the market, the cost of their high-tech components, also found in drones, are driven down by economies of scale. And affordability could offer significant opportunities in the wild blue yonder. A 2013 report by the Association for Unmanned Vehicle Systems reveals the UAV industry will add over 100,000 jobs and $82 billion to the U.S. economy over the next decade.
I have no understanding where they come up with those numbers.
While the exact figures are disputed by some, few expect the steady rise of autonomous vehicles to subside. However, adding a new skill set to the farm is rarely an out-of-the-box solution.
You know, I've had farmer customers say, well, you know, I can go on Amazon and I can buy one of these for $100 and put a camera on it and I'm in business. Well, no.
And while a budding industry spreads its wings, there are complications which prevent it from moving forward on the right side of the law.
The ships have come a long way. They fly longer, they're safer, but we're waiting for the FAA.
The Federal Aviation Administration, which holds ultimate jurisdiction over the use of drones, was ordered by Congress in 2012 to formulate rules integrating UAVs into the national airspace. But the FAA has warned it will likely miss a self-imposed 2015 deadline, citing safety concerns for traditional aircraft. Currently, the majority of drone flights in the U.S. are conducted by hobbyists over private property below 400 feet. Commercial operation technically is illegal, but progress is being made. Exemptions have let some companies, largely in the entertainment industry, lift off. The government also has established test sites tied to 6 states, each focused on a different UAV specialty. In upstate New York, for example, drones are evaluating methods to scout farm fields using several types of sensors. It takes time to gather and evaluate the data, but armed with a vision of increased yields, decreased runoff, and the ability to feed the world on existing acreage, some farmers are already embracing the high life.
It's a different approach. We like to call it a systems approach.
Illinois-based 360 Yield Center is looking for ways to maximize every grain of potential on farms. As UAVs buzz over commodity crops, capturing multispectral images with modified cameras, computers on the ground digitally stitch the images into an agronomic tapestry. And the different infrared wavelengths offer crucial information about plant health.
It's when you go to the NDVI enhanced photo that now you can really start to pick out the differences of what's going on there.
Normalized Difference Vegetation Index, or NDVI imagery, allows producers to make timely, corrective, cost-saving prescriptions regarding nitrogen, pesticides, herbicides, and water application at any time of the growing season.
Today is the best yielding corn that this farm has ever raised, ever. And I mean ever. And it's due to a lot of great management, and we've put in a sub-drip irrigation system that's taken this farm to places it's never been before.
While drones of diverse pedigrees and varying capabilities wait to be cleared for takeoff, it is the culmination of several innovative applications that may elevate precision agriculture to new heights. During the growing season, strategies are developed through thermal readouts and on-the-spot soil analysis in hopes of record production.
I would classify this as a very efficient system.
By working both sides of the equation, with robots in the air and irrigation below ground, agronomists can funnel resources to where they are needed most.
We're using drones and soil scans and different things to sense what's out there in the field. And then we come back and we utilize this tool. Because this is always underground, we can apply at any time. We don't have to throw it on before the crop because we're putting it in that root zone.
I think it's important that everybody in the room understands I don't sell ships, never sold ships. You cannot hire me to fly. No one has ever done that. People have hired me to speak, okay, several people. But what I talk about is what you can do with this technology. So let's dive right into this.
With a background in aviation and farming, Chad Colby is a tireless promoter of drone use in the realm of agriculture.
Do you know right now out west, people are putting thermal cameras on this, flying over their livestock and determining whether any of their livestock has an illness right now, has a fever? I mean, that's what's happening right now. I mean, and it exists. It's not super expensive either.
Many in the ag sector are eagerly waiting for an opportunity to profit from UAV flights. But advocates for agricultural aviators, particularly those who roll, twist, and turn at low altitudes, are skeptical of the economic forecast for unmanned systems. The very nature of their work could put them in close proximity, so crop dusters are following the issue of drone assimilation intently.
There's a tremendous amount of misinformation out there. Those numbers are blown out of proportion. If you look, those are the people who manufacture these and who sell them and who want to provide a service. And of course, they're foaming at the mouth because there's a lot of money out there to be made here.
Ahead of comprehensive FAA rules, UAVs will undoubtedly continue their progressive march. And for some on the bleeding edge, patience is a virtue.
I think at the end of the day, it's like everything else. You can fly this equipment halfway and do a halfway job, or you can fly it with the responsibility that goes with it.
For Market to Market, I'm Josh Bittner.
And if you're interested in seeing a drone demonstration, one will be conducted at the Delta Ag Expo, January 21st and 22nd, and that will be in Cleveland, Mississippi. Well, we are at the end of Farm Week for this week. On our next show, we'll have a holiday feature edition of Farm Week.
Find out how Mississippi State's Edam cheese came to be an honored symbol of the university.
You'll meet an Iraqi war veteran who's using farming to heal his war wounds.
Helps me to
In the Food Factor, we'll have tips if you're planning to mail food gifts to your friends.
In Southern Gardening, pansies, they're a great source of winter-long color. For the rest of the Farm Week crew, I'm Artis Ford.
And I'm Leighton Spann. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.